All right, friends, it's Teen. I'm back, man, with a new video on Greg Doucette, a bomba clot, man. He's with our friend, the other lifting gym slave like himself, Jeff Nippard. You don't need full range of motion. You don't need a full range of motion for what, man? Smart, eh? All right, let's see what he says.
We're expecting an improvement in your growth of maybe 5 or 10% using lengthened partials versus full range of motion.
You might be thinking, oh, what's that? A half a pound or 1 pound of muscle?
In your growth? Half a pound of muscle in your growth? You can keep growing just by moving a weight? What type of growth is this? They never mention.
It is very significant. A 5 to 10% gain is huge in the world of bodybuilding.
It is, isn't it?
Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going over new research on the best way to build muscle. Up until this time, people have thought that going through a full range of motion during a repetition was the best way to create muscle hypertrophy. And that is to
a full range of muscle creates a muscle hypertrophy. It's inflammatory, you get inflammation, right? You go like this with a weight and it gives you inflammation in there, right? That's how you get hypertrophy. What type of hypertrophy is this? Is this density? Is this mass? What is this? Fluid? What is this, Greg? Come on, Greg, please tell us. We want to know.
build extra muscle. But new research, and it's not just
extra muscle, blood flow. What is this? Creatine muscles, water muscles, glycogen. What is this, bro? Sarcoplasmic.
one study, it's not being cherry-picked, shows that it's not full range of motion, that there is, in fact, a better way. And so by the end of this video, we're going to give you training tips, training techniques to
So he's going to give you training tips and training techniques to build a muscle in a gym. You're going to build a muscle lifting a weight in a gym.
incorporate this so that you can add it to your training repertoire, incorporate it into your workouts, and so it's not going to be complicated. You'll know exactly what to do by the end of the video. Rarely do I watch a video where I've learned something completely new that I'd never once thought of, but I'm watching a video by...
Look, I've done partial range motions, and I've had asshole people do videos about it, but they took them all down because now they started doing partial range. They couldn't understand what I was trying to do. I'm trying to shoot for something else when I'm doing partial range motion. These guys are trained athletes when they're in the gym here moving the weights around. What does a trained athlete get when they move weights around? They're trained. They're coming in all the time. What type of growth are they getting there? This would be considered endurance, wouldn't it? What do endurance athletes do when they want to recover? They glycogen load. And where does that glycogen go? It goes in where? It loads in the muscle. So for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water are drawn where? Between the skin and the muscle where? Into the muscle. Does that add to the mass? Yeah. Does that make you strong? No. Is it visually artificial? Yes. So I don't understand what they're trying to say exactly.
Jeff Nippard, it's titled The World's Smartest Intensity Technique for Muscle Growth. And I'm thinking, wow.
He never said what type of muscle growth this is. Sometimes they tell you they're doing blood flow restriction. They're taking creatine. You know when they say creatine, it's water. What type is this? Is this myofibrillar? What is this? Fiber? What is this? Sarcoplasmic? I don't understand. What type is this?
This is very interesting. And so after watching my video, go check out Jeff so you can learn even more. The more you watch, the more you will learn. Out of all the intensity...
Yes, the more you watch this lifting slave, the more you're going to learn.
techniques in the world. One has, by far, the most science behind it. It's actually a technique called...
What's that? Man, the science behind it. Fucking... This has been around for fucking decades. I've been doing it on my channel all the time before they took my channel down. I had assholes do videos about me, trying to make fun of me. Now they've taken them all down. And now they're doing them, actually. But they're not doing them properly.
Long length partials. By that it means that you're doing partial reps about half of the range of motion, and you're doing it at the part where the bicep, the tricep, the calf, whatever muscle you're talking about, is being stretched the most. And so, for example, if doing bicep curls, this would be the portion where it's being stretched the most.
And so what if a muscle's being stretched? And what? You look, see, I'm stretching it every day. I carry my shopping, it's stretching. I move my arms up and down, they're stretching. See that? What What significance does this have whatsoever?
Up here, it's being squeezed the most. This is the stretch. This is the squeeze. And the same
Oh, really? That's the squeeze? That's the stretch? Oh, okay. Man, you have to be stupid not to know that. I guess we're all dumb.
mentality applies to every single muscle. If you're doing the bench press, you have to go from the bottom on the chest. That's where the chest is being stretched. You can literally feel the stretch when you do it, up until halfway up.
You feel the stretch, and halfway up, you get the stretch. Okay, you want the stretch, eh? You want stretching? Go do some athletic stretching.
On lat pull downs, a long length partial would look like this, where you only go about halfway down to your chest. And again, that's because the lats are more stretched at the top.
But the question is, ask him, why are you doing the partial reps going down that far? Why are you doing partial? He just says you're getting more muscle growth. But there must be a reason why, not just the muscle growth. What is causing the growth? The partial? What is that? What is it exactly doing to the muscle fiber if you're pulling it down partial way and you are a trained athlete? If you're a trained athlete, what exactly are you getting there?
Arms up overhead.
So essentially, when you're doing your repetitions, you don't really need to go to a full extension to build the muscle properly. We once thought that you
To build the muscle properly, you don't build muscles, man. Your body builds muscles. And putting fluid in a muscle isn't building a muscle, get it? Using a penis pump isn't going to get your penis bigger, it's just going to swell it up, bro. Listen, man, lifting chronically in the gym, getting inflammatory response muscles, trying to keep these muscles inflamed all the time, walking around like a goofball, that doesn't mean that you built a muscle, okay? It's just stupid
had
shit.
to go through a full range of motion, but turns out that only going halfway up can in fact get equal gains, if not greater, than going through the full range
What kind of gains? What is he talking about? Again, they never explain anything.
of motion.
As of now, there are 8 studies comparing long-length partials to short-length partials, and 7 of those 8 studies found that long-length partials were better for muscle growth.
And so consider there's been 8 studies on this.
And what type of muscle growth? There's all kinds of things that make muscles grow. There's an artificial type, and there's the real type. There's type it's reliant on protein, and then there's another one that's reliant on glycogen. Which one are you talking about? And then there's inflammatory response, lactic acid, blood flow, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
This exact phenomena, the short range versus the long range, and out of the 8 studies, 7 out of 8 showed that the long range was in fact better, and the other study, well, there was no difference. And so that is very conclusive evidence. Think of it, 7 out of 8, and 8, it was essentially a tie.
I'll tell you why you're doing the short range, because you want to focus the tension, look, for example, the way that lady was doing the pulls for her back there, in other words, you're getting your shoulders to pull the muscle back as opposed to you using your arms to flare them backward. So you're using your shoulder blades to contract as opposed to your arm. That is the point, because you as a natural person, you're never hitting it enough. Sometimes you're doing shoulder shrugs, for example, but if you bend down and get your shoulder blades to touch each other, get them to lift the weight as opposed to you shrugging it, pushing the weight up with your arms. Instead of pushing it up, get your back to do the work. You understand? That is the difference. That's why you're doing it. Looks like a partial, but it's not. It just seems that way. For example, you would bend over. You see people standing up doing shoulder shrugs. And what do? They roll them back. They're rolling the shoulder back. They're rolling it and rolling it. The fact of the matter is, you should let your arms hold the weight and let your back do it, so it looks like it's a partial, but in fact you're getting your shoulder blades and your back to do the work for you. Now, for example, if you're doing rows, if you're seated rows, for example, instead of pulling all the way with your arms, using your elbows and bending your arms, you're getting your back to do it for you. So you're holding it and you're using your back to the curvature of your back to get it to do the work for you. That is the point of doing these so-called partials, so you can hit those muscle areas better. That's about it. This is stupid shit. And sometimes if you're doing partials on squat, it's because you're trying to do isometric movements with the much more heavier weight. And so you're doing isometric. You're trying to get more isometric. You could stand there with the squat, with it on your back, But you just simply want to get in a little bit of movement because it's boring standing there counting to whatever 20 or 100. So you go like this, you do some partials up and down. At least that works the leg and the boardism goes, and you get some isometric, and you could do this repetitively over and over and over again. So you get more isometric by keeping that weight tension on your back. That is the only reason why people do that in the gym. I get people, they have it fucking, they're gone.
But it gets even better, because we now also have 5 studies comparing a full range of motion to long-length partials, and 4 of those 5 studies found that long-length partials were better for muscle growth than a full range of motion.
And so think of it, out of all these studies, there are...
Yes, in trained people, what do they get? What do they get in trained people? This so-called partial motions, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, what do they get here? So here's trained people, they come into the gym. So this is from PubMed. This is trained people when they come in the gym. Muscle fiber hypertrophy response to 6 weeks of high volume resistance training. In trained young men is largely what? Largely attributed to what? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Yeah, what's that based on? Glycogen loading, glycogen concentrations. That's it, broski. That's what it is. That's what it is, bro. You understand me? You know what sarcoplasmic is? This is what all you shooting for in the gym as a trained athlete. So it refers to the increase in volume of fluid. It can make muscles appear larger, but it does not increase what? Strength. You understand me? It doesn't increase strength. Just because you got a bigger, you didn't get a stronger. Even if you got a stronger lift, you did not get a stronger. You got a stronger lift by your body adapting by giving you more androgen receptors that are responsible for the force production in PubMed and not responsible for the mass. You see that? It's not responsible for the mass, broski. So what is this? It's an artificial muscle growth, man. See? It's an artificial muscle growth. That's right. You're training it for visual effects, bro. It's water in there. Yeah, man. So you see, and it's not responsible. You're not getting stronger. You got the bigger, but you're not getting stronger. Want to know why? Because the androgen receptor controls strength. It doesn't control the mass of the limb muscles, broski. It controls that strength, bro. The force production gives you these androgen receptors more than for the molecules to bind, and you get the force production. So you got a false sense of strength. You got better at lifting. Your body gave you an adaptation, compensated you by giving androgen receptors because you reached an MND size limit, broski. Muscle reaches an MND size limit. You understand me? It's not growing no more. Yeah, it's beyond where it can get any more of these nuclei to support further muscle growth. Hit a ceiling limit, bro. It hits it when you're in your newbie gains. Your newbie gains, man. You hit it right here in your newbie gains, broski. You see this nuclei thing here? Nuclei acquired by? Scroll down here, way down. There's the map. So you're untrained when you first come into the gym. You're untrained, see that? You're untrained, first trained satellite cell fusion. Boom, hypertrophy. And where does it reach that MND size limit? Right there, bang. What is this here? What's the satellite cell doing? What is that? You see those cells? You're creating new nascent muscle fibers. Do you know what nascent muscle fibers are? Hyperplasia. That's right. You're getting new cells. Why? Because it reached an MND size limit. What does that mean? It means you can't create any more fibers. You have a certain amount of fibers you're born with. That where you're untrained there at the bottom. See those nuclei? Yeah, you got a couple there. That's right. And so you only have a couple there. And so these create new fibers, and then those fibers, they get bigger. They call it hypertrophy. But guess what? They never gives it to you again because it's beyond. It's beyond. It is beyond. and you come into the gym now and you're a trained athlete. So I would say this would give you approximately the most 5 to 10 pounds of muscle. That is the most your body will allow you to put on at the most. A newbie gain. You call it newbie gain, genetic limit, whatever, hard gainer limit, bullshit, whatever. So yeah, man, that's what happens there. You get it, broski?
And so think of it. Out of all these studies, there are none that show that full range of motion is better than partial range of motion. And remember, it's important to do the stretching part.
I can tell you he's not getting any damage there either. Here's another one. You're going to say, well, he's getting damage. He's damaging muscle fibers. He's damaging the muscle fibers lifting there. No, this is what happens too with that newbie gain thing when you're untrained. This is called the repeated bout effect, the protective effect against muscle damage from a single bout of eccentric exercise. The repeated bout effect refers to the adaptation, see, an adaptation whereby a single bout of eccentric exercise protects against muscle damage from subsequent eccentric bouts. While the mechanism for this and it goes into what? It recruits slow twitch motor units. Slow twitch fiber motor units. Why? Because it's endurance. That's why these guys at the 6th week, it's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy in trained people. So in untrained people, when they come in, and that lasts about 3 weeks or something, it goes, that damage goes way down. About the 3rd week, it kind of disappears, it dissipates. So it never kind of appears anymore. So after the 1st, 2nd, 3rd week, it's gone. They tell you this in science too. I'm not going to bring it up here, but they tell you, they explain in the 3rd week, boom, and it goes away. So yeah, man, it's a lot of bullshit here, bro. Get it? Science explains to you everything, but Greg wants to hide this from you because he wants to sell you testosterone and some creatine and fake muscle builders to build water muscles.
The bottom. If you're just doing partials at the top, you're not going to...
He doesn't want to tell you have an MND size limit and you're a lifting slave, chasing this elusive muscle, which it ended in your newbie gain when you came to the gym. You're not getting any more. It's ended. Ooh, yeah, all you minions on Greg Doucette. 2.5 million minions.
Make the same amount of gains. Now, how does this apply to the average lifter? Well, if you're a newbie and you're just going to the gym, you've only been training for a year, you're a beginner. I don't suggest that you do this. This is an advanced training technique.
It's an advanced training technique called sarcoplasmic hypertrophy in trained young men.
Not need to do this. This is something you should only consider once you have experience in the gym, you've learned how to properly train.
Once you get experience after that domain ends, within 2-3 weeks, it's gone completely, dissipates and disappears. Oh, I gotta keep training so I can create these fake muscles which don't make me stronger. I just got a bloat. I got bloatness, fake muscles. But I got a stronger lift though. Yeah.
An exercise, and you're no longer experiencing gains. They're overthinking.
That's why some people say, I got a bigger, but I didn't get a stronger. Or I got a stronger and I never got a bigger because the androgen receptor doesn't control the mass, duh.
Everything. It's like all these stupid little notions of what's going on in the exercises that don't matter. Lift the freaking weight and put the freaking weight down. Think of it. If you're training...
Yes, just lift it and put it down and these things will magically happen. Remember, your body hasn't evolved to that point. You think that you're God over this domain. It still works the way it does in nature to carry you through famines and do a bunch of things. That's why it's not going to give you no muscle. You're stupid if you think it is. That domain ended at 15, and to get a little bit more of these new muscle fibers, it only ever gives it to you in the beginning to calibrate you in any sport that you do in the beginning as an untrained athlete. It gives it to you, but it never gives it to you again.
Right now is working for you. Why would you start doing this? It's already working. But if you hit a plateau or you're an advanced lifter and you're trying to...
What plateau are you hitting? He didn't mention what plateau. That domain, MND size domain, or sarcoplasmic plateau, or the androgen receptor force production plateau. Which one?
Shock the body into new and better gains.
Oh, that's the secret. Guys, he shared it with you. You gotta shock the body to restart the MND size limit.
This is something you should absolutely try in perhaps every single workout. And there are essentially 2 ways you could do this. You could literally say,
You are all lifting slaves. You're just lifting. It's endurance. I'll explain what this is. So when it does go into type 1 to protect itself, that's endurance fibers. So when you come in the gym, the problem is a lot of you are all eating carbohydrate diets. You love your sugar, carbohydrates, and everything. But sugar doesn't really load that well in the muscles. It's actually complex carbs that work the best. And so you're confusing it a lot because you become insulin resistant because you're eating too much sugar. You should stick more to complex carbs. They don't spike your insulin. If your insulin spiked, you're insulin resistant, so that won't build the sarcoplasmic either. But again, this is enhancing your performance because glycogen loads in the muscle. It's enhanced performing. And so steroid people get it, natural people can get it. They do get a lot of it. If you know what you're doing, you can build a lot of it. Believe me, even as a natural, you could get massive. That's why you go, oh, this guy got bigger than me lifting in the gym. Oh, this guy got bigger, this guy got smaller, this guy got bigger. Because some people are eating more of this fucking potatoes and some people are not, and rice or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, you don't want to be insulin resistant, bro. So, yeah. But that domain ended, man. The MND size one, the real muscle growth, the myofibrillar growth, that one's gone, bro.
I'm going to do one set of perhaps 15 reps.
You're just an endurance athlete and a lifting slave in the gym without pay. You're paying them.
And only go halfway up. You're on the bench press and you're pressing the weight and you're going halfway up. Why use the full range of motion when half the range can give?
Greg's muscles are all water and they're fake. That's why he keeps taking drugs. If steroids could build a muscle, right, real muscle like protein, real protein, why doesn't he go off the drugs? And why are you all eating carbohydrates if protein builds muscle? If protein needs to exceed this breakdown to build muscle, why are you eating carbohydrates? You just need to eat protein, right? And your muscle will build because they reach an MND size limit.
Equal, if not better gains. But remember, you need to have a spotter. If you're doing 15 reps at the bottom and you're finished and you say, oh, it's time to re-rack the weight, you might not be able to finish it. You're at the
this is lifting slave mentality.
weakest part of the range of motion, and so perhaps you won't have the strength to re-rack the weight. And so it is, in fact, that you're at the extreme range of motion, and it's
Look at this lifting slave, the lifting slave.
Constantly feeling like extreme tension on the muscle. You don't get that rest and recovery after doing every single rep.
Like this machine's great. You can load so much weight on it, put more on top. You could use it as an isometric movement. So you could load a lot of weight on top and without busting your knees, you could do partials on it. And instead of just standing still, you can literally do partials. That will help stress more of the thigh and it stresses the rest of the body. And this adds to chemical strength. So more chemicals will come out to strengthen you through these chemicals and give you more of these androgen receptors. Yeah. So that's to give you this phony sense of strength. Sure.
Think of it. When you're standing there between reps, you're literally resting. It's easy.
I'd say isometrics are good for, bone density for sure. Yeah, because you're all eating herbivore diets and sugar all day. So your bones are all soft and falling apart. But if you do that and eat sugar and carbs and you do this exercise, you're actually destroying your body. You're just going to make it weak over time eventually. It'll just be, it's a slow progression, man, eroding over time.
Every rep, you get to the bottom and you're thinking, wow, that's going to be hard at the bottom, but then it gets easier at the top. But in this training, every second of your lift, it's going to be the hard part. The bottom, this is the hard part. And so in actuality...
Yeah, the bottom's the hard part for all these people. Who wants to be on the bottom? Everybody wants to be on top.
This kind of training is actually harder. It may be quicker, it may not have the same time under tension, but it's actually going to be more difficult. Especially if you're training to failure. Think of how hard it is to constantly...
You're actually supposed to move faster to draw the glycogen into the muscle. Remember, it's the pump that you're going for, everybody, right? Remember you guys all talking about the pump? The pump. Got to pump up those muscles. Got to get that nitric oxide, pump it up. Got to take the pump gear and all that, the pump powders and all that. Got to hit the pump.
Be doing partial reps in the greatest extreme range of motion.
What causes pump? It ain't protein. So what causes it? Oh, it's the fucking carbohydrates, below shit.
And do every rep until failure. Very, very difficult. And
you do it until failure because for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water are drawn between that skin and the muscle into the muscle. You got to keep drawing it in there.
Second way of which many of you have likely tried this.
ATP glycogen stores, got to keep pumping it more in there because I'm an endurance athlete now. I'm enhancing my performance. Yes, I'm taking enhanced performing drugs, enhancing my performance because enhanced performing drugs enhance your performance by glycogen loading. They do not build muscle and they do not bypass MND size limit. They cannot, literally, a molecule cannot build a muscle fiber out of thin air. What it does is testosterone it grabs more of the glycogen and it holds it in your muscle. That's why you get the pump. When people take like Sustanon or Tren or whatever these heavy duty like testosterone drugs, they go, Jesus, the pump is out of this world. Yeah, try to do that on just plain protein. See if you get that pump on steroids with eating just protein. Well, what are they eating exactly getting that pump? Herbivore diet, donuts, chocolate milk, man. Yeah, man, all that sugar, bro. Carbohydrates, bro.
Is when you get to failure, you continue to do extra reps.
That's why the bodybuilders got into mass monsters than in the past. In the past, they stuck to eating more aesthetics and eating more meat. And then now in the future, people eat so much more carbs now than ever. They just look so blown up like they just came out of a penis pump, man, a vacuum pump. Look how pumped they are. They even show you in their videos. They go, look, man, the pump, bro. Ha, ha, ha. They even measure their arms when it's pumped. They look in the mirror and they go, look what I look like. You know, you get these guys with the inflammatory response pump and they get inflamed muscles and then they're looking at themselves more inflamed and the pump and everything. They're just all gaga over this bullshit fake muscle shit.
Lat pull downs, and after 10 reps, you can't pull the bar down to your neck. You simply don't have the strength. But you don't stop.
You want to know why a gorilla is stronger than a man? Because he can bench press fucking 4,000 pounds without practicing. He's got the strength of 20 men. Want to know why he has that strength? Because he has more muscle fibers than you. That's why. A mesomorph will always have more muscle fibers than an ectomorph. And so does an endomorph because he's got to carry more fat on his body. And that causes gravitational loading.
Feel all that fatigued, and you continue to do perhaps 5 reps more. You're going halfway down. Perhaps you may only go 1/3 of the way down, and eventually say,
that's not why you're doing that. You see, instead of using your arms, you want to use your lats to pull it down. That is the whole point. You're putting the force on that muscle area to push that weight instead of using your arm. Fuck me, man. People are that fucking stupid or what? That's why his head's bald. Because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I've had enough. That is a long-range partial...
Look at him. He's using his arms, pulling it up and down. Use your lats instead of your arms. Let your arms hang and hold that weight and let your back do the work for you. That's why you're doing the partial. It's not really a partial. It's just that the range of motion there between the lat and the shoulder is a short range.
Rep that you're doing naturally while doing pull-downs.
Whatever.
And so you can progressive overload harder than last time for years.
Yes, that's it. He's got it there now. See that? You're using the back muscles to pull, and your arms should be flat. They shouldn't be bending, just like what he's
So
doing.
if you're all about maximizing your hypertrophy, that's meaningful. At this point, I'm pretty confident that lengthened partials are something that should be included in your training.
And remember, year, 100%. Oh, what's that? A half a pound or 1 pound of muscle. It is very significant. A 5 to 10% gain is huge in the world of bodybuilding. And one supplement people consider bro science. For example,
5 to 10 gain of sarcoplasmic muscle is huge in the bodybuilding industry. This fake muscle.
lat pull downs. Science says they.
Yeah.
And so when I'm training lat pull downs,
You're going too far down. He's doing it wrong with the lat one.
if I don't push past failure,
And this guy's a coach, man, and he doesn't know these fucking things. Come on, bro. What the fuck?
I call that a wood training techniques. Jeff demonstrates how this can be done on almost any muscle.
Again, Jeff is doing it wrong because he's pulling his arms. You get your back to do the work and your arms simply hold the weight. You don't need to pull your arms. Stop bending your fucking elbows.
That you're training. Lying down hamstring curls, rarely would I be able to go through the full range of motion.
Now he's almost getting it because he's running out of power and strength now to hold it. That is the whole point, is to pull with the back instead of using your arm.
For every single rep. Once I'm at 10 reps, I cannot get at full range of motion. But I don't feel like another way that you can do this, for example, in the pec, an infinite number of ways that you could actually incorporate this. You could perhaps do the first 8 reps partials, the last 2 reps full range of motion.
And you need to do that. Why exactly, Greg? Oh, you could just do it full and then you could go short and full, full and short. You could do anything you want, but if you're looking for something your training needs to be very specific as to why are you doing this. See what I mean? He just says muscle growth. Man, when it comes to endurance, this glycogen, that could be anything you could do. And it'll get pumped in there. providing you ate a lot of this glycogen before you came in and after you leave the gym.
First 2 full range motions, the last 8 partials. You can do whatever you want.
And you don't want to come in too often to the gym because your whole point is to load more and create more of these fake glycogen muscles, sarcoplasmic muscles through glycogen loading. So you don't want to appear too often to the gym because that would defeat the purpose. You understand me? You want to grow more of them.
But please experiment, find what works for you. You can try it on certain exercises and skip it altogether on others. Remember, if you never use this technique ever in your life, it's still okay. You're still getting the...
I'm done, man. I'll see you in the next one. Tell me what you think about that. The lifting slave has enslaved an entire 2.5 million subscribers, this lifting slave, into lifting this shit repetitively, wasting their time. Tell us what you think about that. Like, subscribe, comment down below. It helps the channel, support the channel. See you next one. Helps the algorithm. See you later, man. It's ridiculous.